Here is a think fast question. What do AI adoption, enterprise agility, leadership pipelines, and global innovation hubs all have in common? You've guessed it, it's right there in the title of our webinar. They are all being engineered quietly, powerfully in India's global capability centers. It's a pride of India, to be honest. Hello, everyone. This is Rajiv Jayaraman, founder CEO of KNOLSKAPE, and I welcome you all to today's webinar, GCCs 2.0, leading the next wave of global capability from India. Over the last 2 decades, India's global capability centers have undergone a profound transformation from just being cost-focused back offices to strategic hubs of innovation, leadership, and impact. With over 1,700 plus GCCs contributing to global operations, India is no longer just a participant in the global value chain. It's becoming an orchestrator of enterprise transformation. As we now enter a post-digital AI-driven era, the future of GCCs is being redefined, right? And we've seen multiple waves over the years from just being an outpost to being a strategic hub. Now, with many GCCs talking about becoming AI first, I think we are truly in yet another inflection point. The conversation is shifting from support to strategy, from execution to innovation, and from efficiency to enterprise leadership. In this session, we explore what's next for India's GCCs, how they are embracing AI and automation. In fact, in many conversations, we've started counting down the time till somebody mentions the word AI. I don't know if you do this, right? It happens quite fast in the first 1 to 2 minutes. And here we go. We've already mentioned AI a couple of times already. Building adaptive talent ecosystems, nurturing leadership pipelines, enabling business agility at scale. All of that is getting redefined. And that's GCC 2.0. And it's not just an evolution, it's a reinvention. That's what makes it exciting. To help us decode this transformation, we are joined by a power packed panel. I'm really excited about this. We have a panel of industry leaders, Ruchi Magu, HR head and employee experience at Orange Business India, Madhulika, head of HR at Providence India, and Manish Nambudri, general manager and HR business leader at Virgin India. So, hi Ruchi, Madhulika, and Manish. Thank you for joining us on this webinar. Really excited to have you all. Now, I shall turn this over to you for a quick round of introduction, whatever you would like to share with our audience today. And as you do that, I would also like to ask a fun question. After you're done with your introduction, I'm going to ask a fun question, which is slightly future focused, a little bit of a rapid fire. We'll get started. Ruchi, maybe you can go first.
Sure. Thank you, Rajiv. Very happy to be on the panel. So about myself, I head human resources and employee experience for Orange Business India. I've been with Orange for a very long time, done a couple of regional and global roles, and from last 2 years, I'm heading HR. We have one of our biggest GCCs of Orange is based out of India, and we are more than 5,000 people here, primarily in Gurgaon, Mumbai, and Bangalore. And happy to talk about GCC evolution challenges and a couple of topics that Rajiv you mentioned resonates with us really closely. Too happy to be here.
Awesome. And here's your fun question, Ruchi. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so imagine it's 2035 and your AI assistant just became your HR co-pilot. What's the first task you would gladly hand over to your AI assistant? And what's that one thing you'll never trust it with?
Aha. Okay. So I use AI big time, right? We have our own Dino too. So it's like my own personal assistant, which has made my life much more simpler. So I'm going to ask my AI to manage my calendars and tell me what next to do and all that stuff. So that will be one thing. What I will not ask it to do is more, and I don't rely so much on that, is the human element and the emotional part, right? So whenever it is about coaching somebody and things around that, I think that's something which I'll keep it to myself.
Awesome. Love that perspective. Madhulika, over to you. Quick introduction from your end, please.
Thank you. And Ruchi, fantastic to hear your story. Good morning, everyone. I'm Madhulika. I lead human resources for Providence, India. Providence is a health tech company in India, parent organization in California, US. Been in existence for about 5 years, so it's a young GSC. I've been with Providence for over 4 years now. Prior to that, over 2 decades of experience in consulting and financial services. Healthcare has been an extremely fulfilling journey. So that's what. So very excited to see how GCCs have shaped up in the last 2 decades in India and how now young GICs are truly driving the business strategy for parent orgs and for other ecosystems overall. So very excited to be here.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. Yours is a little bit of an out there question. So let's see how this goes. In the future, where employees can work from anywhere, literally interplanetary, if Elon Musk's vision comes true, so we'll become interplanetary. So imagine they're working from the moon, Mars, or the metaverse. Where would you like to set up your GCC and why?
I would still choose India because
Okay.
nothing would be more agile than this place where the context and routing is so strong, but the agility to take on to the moon and Mars still remains very viable. I believe it has talent which can think really big, but still keep connected to human as it's needed. So I'll still choose this place.
Awesome. Great. Lovely to hear that. Manish, over to you. A quick introduction from your end.
Thanks, Rajiv, first of all, for having me here and being the panelist along with Madhulika and Ruchi, such a great leaders. Happy to hear you guys. So, Rajiv, I work with a company called Whitgan India. This is a road construction and manufacturing equipment organization. So we build machines for constructing roads across India, and the major of the national highways have been done by our machines. I've been working with this organization for almost 8 years now. Previous to that, I worked with Mahindra and Mahindra for almost 18 years. Being into HR industry for almost 20 years now, and leading business HR role along with performance management, comp and ben, training and development, and certain other center of excellence right now with India. So very happy to be here, and GCC has been a very, very important topic in today's world, and along with what you're talking about, AIs and Industry 4.0, which is outcome of the GCCs, I'll say, over a period of time. And it's always interesting to talk about it, and it's not only for your learning, I'll say, it's for our learning as well at the same time, listening each other, and it'll be interesting topic to have today. Looking forward to it.
Thanks, Manish. So your fun question is this. You've been just invited to join the first virtual boardroom in a fully AI-run company. Fully AI-run. What's your opening line to the digital CEO? By the way, I came across this trivia. There is some company in China, NetWeb Software, where they have an AI CEO. And apparently the stock prices are doing better after the CEO came on board. So we are probably not too far from this reality. So what's going to be your opening line to the digital CEO?
So I'll say, hello AI, I hope you're not replacing me soon. So let me continue my job and let's start discussion.
Awesome. Great. Lovely. Thanks for participating in the fun questions. Now, what we'll do is we've got almost 50 participants with us, and there's so much knowledge and wisdom they have as well. So just to tap into that, we have a poll question for all of them. Archita, if you can please bring that up, it should appear on your screen now. Which of the following, according to you, best describes the next evolution in the GCC space? Right? You can just pick one. Moving from support to strategic function, becoming a center of innovation, expanding into multifunction global roles, incubating new business models, and so on. Although you might be tempted to pick all of them for the purpose of this poll, you can just pick one, just so we know what is top of mind for most of you. Okay, let's just give a few seconds for you to answer. All right. I hope you all got a chance to respond to that. Achita, can we now bring the insights on the screen? There you go. So here is what the participants here are saying. Moving from support to strategic ownership, that's 37% of people seem to think that's where we are in terms of the next stage of evolution. Becoming a center of innovation, expanding into multifunction and global roles, incubating new business models, and still exploring future possibilities on the lower end of that spectrum. But clearly, the strategic impact of GCCs is coming out clearly on the poll here. Thank you, everybody, for participating in this. Now, I will start, doing a round robin with all the panelists. The first question to you, Ruchi. Given your extensive experience in leading global HR operations, have you seen GCCs shift from being efficiency focused to becoming more innovation focused, becoming innovation hubs? Can you share an example from your journey at Orange Business? What actually happens through the journey to the organization? What are some pitfalls? How do you overcome those obstacles? We can throw some light on that. That'll be a wonderful start.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rajiv. So, yeah. So GCCs have really, really evolved, right? And we started in India in 2005. So we have been there for a very long time now. And the way we have evolved is that, we have moved up the value chain. So when we started, it was just some little functions more around the back office part that was there and more of delivery operations. And I think today we are sitting at the heart of the entire digital transformation, so as to say, with automation, with AI, with big data, being the center of excellence being in India, right? So from that angle, the evolution has really happened quite a lot from doing to now telling, from a lot of back-end roles to a lot of leadership roles now, with so much of focus on innovation and R&D, as I talked. And also, with all this, there was a lot of focus on sustainability and CSR as well. So that's like a very, very rough view from where we started with just few people to now being 5,000 plus headcount. I think if I have to talk about our journey, couple of things are definitely at an advantage, when it comes to India. For Orange Business, the GCCs are also in Egypt, in Mauritius, in Brazil, and we've also started with Morocco, and then obviously the biggest one is in India. For us, I think cost was something which was a key driver, I think, when we started, but more it became around, access to talent, and especially access to digital and tech talent. And apart from that, leadership roles as well. I mean, we are quite proud to say that a lot of executive management board positions, which were earlier only in Europe, and some of them are now sitting out of India as well. So that is one thing which I'll call out. In terms of our overall journey, right? So when we started moving up the value chain, couple of factors came into play. And I think one of them, which I will call out, is also about the overall trust and overall, the camaraderie that you have with the GCCs, that the bond became much more stronger, and it did not happen very quickly, right? I mean, we had earlier the challenge of empowerment and at times speed of execution. But I think then it was more about how do you build trust? How do you well integrate into the parent, right? How do you adopt a global approach wherein you balance the global standards with the local customizations? And apart from that, it is also about, the overall building that local ownership and confidence, and having that talent being a very, very key part of your strategy as a main focus here. So these are a few things that I will call out when I look back at our GCC journey and how have we embraced and evolved.
That's super impressive, from a back office to now becoming leadership breeding ground for the global organization. I love the global approach as well. That's really what most GCCs struggle with. They have a local reality, they have a global reality. How do you blend the two? Seems like you've done a fantastic job there. So I'll now turn to Madhulika. So just building on what Ruchi was mentioning, what's been your approach at Providence India towards building a pipeline of global ready leaders from within the Indian GCC ecosystem? And similarly, what have been the challenges? How did you overcome that? That'll be fantastic to hear.
Sure, Rajiv. Thanks for the question. I think in a healthcare context, a GCC Providence was really one of the first GCC setups for a healthcare provider. So it was an evolving space as healthcare was also going through its own transformation post-COVID. What was really a pivotal point was the why do you need a GIC in India was a question we asked consistently to be able to get to the right design of what we wanted to build here, and thereby early on focus on value creation versus starting as a cost arbitrage was very clear. Also because India by now in the last 2 decades has matured through its GCC journey. So now that the GCCs are getting set up, are very clearly pivoting to this to the logic or the rationale of saying, hey, this is for value creation. So, and that's been the Providence journey of setting in, of saying, hey, we are partners in transformation. We are partners in tech transformation for healthcare. And that was the design with which it got set up. The advantage we had were leaders, global leaders in India who had worked with global, had global experience for decades. All of us came from tech, consulting, and healthcare backgrounds, which really had that experience in our hand when we were building a tech GCC with a very clear premise of saying, hey, we are here to add value, take the business vision forward and strategize. So that the positioning of the GCC then starts with the value creation story. And that's how we brought in the tech transformation speed to the healthcare sector. To your question of challenges, the design of understanding a global landscape from here, and for the global to understand, the influence that the local leaders can drive is a journey to build in. But it typically gets accelerated with the experience that comes in and fundamentally gets driven when the purpose is aligned. To me, the GIC purpose to the parent org purpose, getting aligned at the earliest with the values and the ethos connected, and that's where the culture in GCCs plays such a critical role. It's the fastest way to align from a value creation standpoint. In a healthcare space, very focused as Providence has been purpose driven to saying, hey, even if I'm sitting miles apart as a technology person to a set of hospitals, I know what I'm creating is going to help save lives, is going to give back time to somebody to go live their life better. I guess that alignment of purpose at a GCC level, which primarily drives their strategy, I think has been a game changer to be a value creator versus just being a pure play cost arbitrage focused delivery. I think that's how our journey has started and been a differentiator.
Awesome. I love that. I love the fact that, purpose is the glue that connects the global and the local. That perhaps is a way to achieve this global balance, right? I love that. Over to you, Manish. How do you see the role of talent transformation in GCCs evolving, especially as AI and digital tools reshape traditional manufacturing and infrastructure sectors as well? Right? How do you see the role of transformation, talent transformation in GCCs?
So, Rajiv, I mean, I think GCCs has played a big role in the transformation of the industry and hence the talent strategy altogether. Right from the cost arbitrage to the value addition, like Madhulika and Ruchi said. Now, if you look at the manufacturing industries as compared to around about 20, 30 years back, where the roles were very mundane and very operational and very routine in nature, now factories are looked in a very different way. The employees are looked in a very, very different levels. There is a huge demand of skilled professional today. It's not just simple mechanics what we look at. We look at people at data analytics. We look at people with AI, ML, machine learning, knowledge of IoT, Industry 4.0 have changed the thought process of the industry completely. So the level of the quality of people, the skill of people has really shaped up in a different level altogether. And hence your talent strategy has to be very, very different based on the new upcoming technologies, especially when talking about AI. The important thing to look at here is how we can make roles more hybrid. For example, just to say, a mechanical engineer will not just be doing mechanical jobs. He needs to learn maybe Python today to integrate his predictive maintenance models. Supply chain specialists will need a lot of data analytics from SAP or HANA to understand how my suppliers are doing, the quality, my supply chain gaps, future ready products. So it's just not a very, very simple, straightforward, specialized role. It's a combination of technology and the functional expertise what they carry. If you look at the industry now, I mean, a lot of global companies are investing heavily in India in terms of the design centers and design centers of the quality where people are designing the entire product over the virtual reality, right? I mean, sitting in a room, connecting with the global people in different locations of the world, they're designing the entire product, uh, 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 getting the inputs from AI, past trends, data analytics. They're just not getting the designs, they are prototyping, they are testing over virtual realities. So the shape of the industry has completely changed, or I can say the shape of the human technology has completely changed. So we definitely have to look at changing our strategy in terms of the hiring, engagement, employer branding. My competition is thus not another manufacturing companies to hire talent from. My competition is today Madhulika and Ruchis of the world, because I need to hire people from different technology companies. I have to hire people from IT. I need to hire people from uh, uh, data analytics background. So I need to look at very, very different strategy to hire these people, and to attract these talent is also not easy. Why a person sitting in Google will join a manufacturing industry? So I need to provide them a future-ready organization, a career path, and hence then I have to develop the internal tools environment accordingly. We need to look at high level of technology getting into place. The new tools, new process, new system need to be evolved over a period of time, so we can attract these talent who can stay with us and do great jobs in the industry. And again, if they join, we have to engage them. So engagement strategy has to be very, very different. So we need to, and today's generation is not into just as simple as give them fun at work or give them different engagement initiatives or policies. They need to engage with the work, what they do. They want to add value. They want to do a great job. They want to make difference in the industry, society. They talk about sustainability. So the overall strategy, right from your hiring to engagement to retention, the branding, everything have a different place altogether today.
Absolutely. I love that response, Manish. Number one, the number of GCCs is just skyrocketing, which just means that there's going to be intense competition for a small pool of highly specialized people. And that's what you're saying, the role is not generic anymore. It's very specialized. So intense competition for, high quality talent. And what I also hear you say is roles have to get rewired. It's, if you're a mechanical engineer, you need to acquire new skills on digital and AI and so on. So I remember Josh Bersin talking about this, I think last year at his conference. He speaks about the 4 Rs. So we often think in terms of recruiting new talent for the new age. Then retention is important, like the people in the organization that are capable. What's the engagement plan? Because you might otherwise lose them to Amazon or to the other. So what's the engagement and retention plan? Then reskilling. Then, very importantly, what he is talking about is also rewiring. The thing about AI is it's not an incremental thing that whatever you were doing earlier, we do it faster, cheaper, better, but it offers an opportunity to do things completely differently. So that reimagination is also important, and that all goes into the talent strategy. Do we actually need people for this job, or can that be automated? Right? And where do we need specialists? Where can we use AI and automation? There seems to be a lot of focus on that as well. So I really
I'll just add a line on that, because you just mentioned that do we need people or we need automation, and then that creates a lot of fear in the industry
fear in the people.
related to
Yes.
AI. And
Right.
I would say, human intelligence is very strong enough to accommodate or I'll say upgrade itself to the new technology. And we have seen in the past when the industry 4.0 came, and people were worried that what will happen to the people on the shop floor, but nothing happened. What has happened is their roles have upgraded. Instead of what they were doing as a workman, now they're doing what engineers used to do earlier.
Right.
So
Right.
it's
So
an
it's more of
upgrade of the culture.
right. It's
It's
more of
nothing to worry
augmentation
about
than
in
just
technology.
automation. Absolutely. I love that answer. So before we go to the next round, just want to engage the audience here. We have one more question for them. Achita, if we can bring that up, please. Yeah. So what's the primary focus for your organization in the next 12 to 18 months? So here there is a sense of urgency that we are seeing in the industry, right? So we need to act now because we don't have the luxury of time. What are we focusing on? Is it driving digital transformation? A lot of organizations are still on that path. Building innovation and R&D capabilities. We interact with many organizations that were just supporting the parent org, but now they are starting to do local R&D, right? End-to-end product ownership. Enhancing operational efficiency, that's another thing where AI is playing a big role. Scaling talent and leadership pipeline and becoming a strategic partner in HQ, which is basically wave 4 that NASSCOM talks about, where the Indian GCC is almost like the second headquarters for the parent org. So what is the primary focus for your organization in the next 12 to 18 months? Let's have quick answers. We'll give it 10 to 15 seconds, and then Achita can bring the responses on the screen. All right, so driving digital transformation is still the hot favorite, right? So this one started a little earlier in time, right? But a lot of organizations are still working on different aspects. The second is enhancing operational efficiency, seems to be around 22%, and scaling talent and leadership pipeline 19%, and building innovation R&D capabilities is about 15%, and becoming a strategic partner in HQ, that's about 11%. So it sort of matches with what NASSCOM is saying as well. There are different waves and different GCCs. They find themselves in different maturity levels. So this data here is sort of mirroring that as well. So that's good to see. So now let's get into the next round of questions. So this time I'm going to do a reverse round robin. We'll start with Manish first. So Manish, in your experience, what are the most effective strategies to engage a multi-generational GCC workforce in your domain, in construction and manufacturing? Are there challenges that you see with multi-gen?
Rajiv, if there is a most effective and perfect strategy available, please train me on that. I would love to learn that piece. And on a lighter note, but look, I think multi-generational workforce has their own benefits and challenges. And I'll say over a period of time, it is reducing. If I talk about the previous 2 decades earlier, when the baby boomers, your Gen X and millennials were working together, and I've been a Gen X, so I can count on myself as well. So the difference of the age gap was huge that point of time. And I remember, I'll talk, though there are a lot of theories around it, but let me share a very, very short personal experience. Around about 15 years back, we did multiple workshops with our baby boomers and Generation X people to make them understand that how millennials are coming into picture and how they need to be treated differently, how they need to be handled differently, how you can appreciate them in the way they want to do the work and get the work out of them. And trust me, there was a lot of challenge in terms of converting their thought process to the new generation. And I'll say it was not successful, but not more than 10 to 15% of people who understood that how we can accommodate both the generations together. On the contrary, when we went to millennials and tried training them on this particular aspect, and we told them, look, we understand there are challenges, there are opinion gaps. But what is there is that there is a style of working with your older generations. And we're not telling you to change your style, but how you can handle different situations with different type of generations in different issues or situations. They understood far better. I'll not say again it changed overnight the overall culture of the generation, but I found the new generation becoming more accommodative and understanding to ensure that how we need to have a good workplace environment and deliver together. And again, they didn't change the style of working, but they understood how to handle the previous generations.
Yeah, bringing
what is
some
happening,
flexibility, right?
right? And what is happening now is because of the GCC, the trend has completely changed. You have seen a lot of leaders are young leaders now. I mean,
Right.
they're in the early 40s, and the new entrants are coming at the age of 21, 22. So the age gap is reducing in a big way. The 20 years, 25 years of age gap is compared to 30, 35, 40 years. This is reducing the complexities of the generations. So that is helping the new generation to work better. From the effective strategy perspective, only thing which I feel that for the new generation, what we need to do is that make them equipped with the right work, right quality of work, because I think they're more focused on, as I previously said, they're more focused on value adding. They're more focused on what they're delivering, how their contribution is adding the value, just not for the organization itself, also for the society. They're looking for sustainability work. I think we need to engage them with the right quality of the work. This is what I feel is the effective strategy for the new generation.
Awesome. I love that, Manish. I think sort of dovetails with what Madhulika was mentioning earlier about purpose. And you're also talking about value addition and meaning of work, right? So just don't give random work to them. If it's meaningful, they're engaged and they're able to go above and beyond. Okay, that's lovely. So Madhulika, over to you now. In a data-rich and patient-centric environment in your world, how are you embedding AI and digital tools into your talent strategy without losing the human touch that healthcare demands, right? So, and the context to this is we care deeply about it at KNOLSKAPE. We often talk about the need, the 3 Ws, right? The work, worker, and the workplace. That's the future of work. Each one of them is getting disrupted. Work is getting futurized. The worker needs personalization, right? Don't do one size fits all. And then workplace requires humanization. The one sad reality is as digital and AI are on the upswing, so is mental health and other kinds of issues, right? So we need to create a sort of balance between these two or three forces here. So that's the context here. So how do you actually strike the balance between digital AI, especially in your world where empathy counts for a lot and it's really patient-centric, human-centric? How do you strike that balance?
Sure. Thanks for that question, Rajiv. And it's so pertinent, right? And I think in healthcare more so, but truly fundamentally in all aspects of work and life. I think I'll take it from where Manish left very critically on the intergenerational workforce also is about, what works for workforce today is a factor of looking at work as part of their life experiences. And I'm going a little round. So AI across, whether it's worker, or workplace, is today a partner in the game, and it's not something we can shy away from. So it's a reality that we have to leverage. It's a tool, it's a medium which helps us enhance, and the approach to that has to be that. So in a human-centric workplace, leveraging technology to bring in more system transition, bring in more process excellence, is how work and worker frees up. Now, what is critical for us to say, how do I leverage AI not to lose the human touch, but actually to amplify it? To actually leverage mediums. AI makes it a medium and not really my final outcome. My source and my outcome still remains the human value. In patient-centric experience as well. At the end of it, if I'm wanting to make things better for a patient, I leverage AI and technology as a medium to make it better. I would not lose the touch which makes it of saying, hey, how am I impacting your life better? It's the same for a worker, right? Or a workplace. The connection of today, a worker to a workplace, as we all discussed, is connected to the larger impact we are able to create. And how does it how does that story weave into my larger life story? I think today's workforce, which a significant part of it is Gen Z and millennials, is looking for saying, hey, how does this work story of mine connect to my larger narrative of life? In which, to me, whether it's AI, whether it's social media, whether it is approaches, are mediums. And we have to leverage, enhance them to create that value, keeping the human centricity. And that's why I think I was recently discussing of saying how empathy is going to be critically strategically relevant. Applying empathy is going to be strategically relevant to keep the organization, the workplaces, the third factor you built in, to be relevant to the worker. What will take GCC's positioning to lead will be to understand, anticipate, and apply of saying, how do I keep the human at the center? Leveraging AI in the work of the worker, to me, is strengthening or speeding up the ability to drive a value. As we also work through, you're saying, okay, what reclaims the organizational capacity? Today, a good part of GCC's value transformation story is about saying, where are we leveraging our energies or strengths in? A talent dense workforce. I think Manish called out of saying being multi-skilled is a very critical need today. So if I'm looking for a talent dense workforce, which is great in data, which is great in cybersecurity, great through AI, they're also at their heart are looking for a workplace which addresses their work needs, but is also keeping their human excellence at the center. So building an ecosystem which values it, leverages what they bring in as their skills, and to be able to create that value, I think is fundamental of what will sustain us. What will take us forward is that ability to differentiate between where does AI gets used as a medium, and where do I not lose focus on person. You brought in mental health. Social health is a concept we work on very closely. The reason we encourage people to come to work, leverage, engage is part of our total well-being concept. Mental health is one part of it, physical health is one, social health is one part of it. Increasingly, the lack of the ability to lose touch is increasing, and thereby there's to be far more deliberate effort from workplaces to be able to create a social health concept, which is connecting with each other. So the conscious or deliberate attempt by workplaces to keep work and worker leveraging technology, but keeping them at the center, I think will be the GCC differentiator.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So, how do you make something human-centric? And I like the concept of social well-being, social connections as well. A lot of researchers have shown that high-performing teams and high-performing organizations, one critical factor is the connections people have within, right? The more robust that can get, more resilient the organization can be as well. Instead of individuals battling it out, you've got a sense of the collective.
I think that's a huge advantage of India GCCs, right? The design of collective is what our differentiator brings in.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's something that we have to very consciously continue leveraging.
Awesome. I love that. So, Ruchi, over to you. You've led multi-regional and multifunctional teams. What talent strategies do you believe are most effective in building agile, cross-functional GCC teams across global locations? So, you spoke about multiple locations as well. How do you do that? Right? And what challenges do you encounter? How do you overcome them?
Great. Thank you, Rajiv. A wonderful question. So, when it comes to building agile and cross-functional GCC teams, right, I would first talk about upskilling and preparing the talent pipeline internally. So, yes, we definitely have to hire external, and even the external landscape is changing, which I'll talk in a minute. But from building a talent pipeline internally, we are doing a couple of things. So whether it is, job secondments, which is again not a new concept, but it's helping us quite a lot right now because it gives us that pathway to create our internal pipeline. And especially, today's generation and today's talent wants to change multiple careers. Gone are the times when we used to change jobs and companies. Now it is like a different career altogether. So upskilling is coming on the forefront. Even things like job rotation, which took a backseat at least for us a couple of years back, has now come in the limelight. Whether it is job rotations, job swaps, how do you try another thing, and how with a 70-20-10 approach of learning, you are actually getting that experiential learning to be ready immediately. So that is one part which I will talk about. And, this approach really ensures that we develop that ready now talent, so as to say. From a cross-functional perspective, I think it is extremely important for any GCC right now to break the silos. With the matrix organization and the functional approach, the reality is that the siloed working still exists. But then how can you really come up with a lot of transversal squads or, communities and projects wherein, people can definitely do what they want to do, which goes with their passion. But at the same time, we are getting that energy of collective intelligence, so as to say. So that's another thing that is done quite a lot. From hiring externally, I think we do hire a lot in terms of hire for potential, i.e., it's more of a career runway and a run path to see how a person will align for future roles. So it's not only, hiring for the job description or for a particular role right now. It's much more broader when it comes to the skills canvas, and also the futuristic part becomes extremely important. From other points around talent, so as to say, I mean, personalization, you just talked about it earlier, no one size fits all, especially with the multi-generation part, which Manish was talking as well. So it's more about, tailored development and tailored engagement, which is extremely important. One thing which I will call out here is that role of managers and role of leaders is also evolving quite a lot, right? Gone are the days from controlling to more collaboration, from telling to coaching. And, it's more about how do you foster that trust element? How do you foster that relationship? And we just talked about, the social and the emotional part is extremely important. Um, Overall, in the talent part, our focus is also a lot on the mindset change, whether it is, looking at growth mindset, wherein, it's absolutely fine to fail, but yeah, fail fast and learn fast as well. How do you move away from waiting for that perfect decision versus, now making fast decision, which is needed. And apart from that, it's also, we can't end anything on talent without talking about AI and technology. So how do you marry the human touch in the embracing technology part? Because Manish also talked about the insecurities that, that at times comes with the AI and the job. So I think the empathy, the communication and the relationship becomes important. Last, I will just say one more line here is that inclusion is definitely a strategic priority for us rather than just being a value or a tick in the box, so as to say, activity.
Oh, I love that. It's so rich in context. Thanks for sharing that, Ruchi. So now we've spoken about GCCs, but most of the GCCs obviously serve the parent organization. Some of them are starting to set up, local sales engines and so on for local businesses. But staying with the relationship between the GCC and the parent organization. Now, just applying empathy, design thinking. Now, if we were to switch sides and look at GCCs from the parent standpoint. Now, this is an open question. Feel free to pick it up if this resonates with you. What challenges do parent organizations often cite while collaborating with GCCs in India? And what are you doing about that? And what's a general resolution for that? Anyone can pick this up.
Okay, I can start. I mean, I'll just say one here, which is one of the things that the parent organization feels that, the GCC should not do, the policies are fine, which I talked about local, but not so much around tools and systems and things around that, have a very, very localized approach, right? Because they are looking from an overall global standpoint and they would need good amount of standardization, so as to say. So yes, they want to give empowerment, but it should not be so much empowerment as well that you run your own empire without getting aligned to the main, so as to say, the strategy and the approach and the how part at times is what they won't like so much to control, but they would want alignment, so as to say that.
Right. Yeah, so that's a classic, right? To what extent do you centralize versus decentralize? There's always a push and pull depending on how the economy goes, how the organization functions. Power keeps shifting between centers, and how do you strike the right balance again? I think seems to be the key there. Any other perspectives, Madhulika?
I so agree with Ruchi on this point. I'll not say control again here. It's more of, who will do what, the accountability matrices. And I think this is more also because of the cultural gaps the parent and the GCCs have, especially being in India, we are very, very aggressive. We are very quick, adaptable country, and we want to make things fast. And whether the parent company is working on the same pace, right? And they have their own way of working. They have their own structures, their own processes. We want to quickly adapt to the new process and move faster. So those gaps happens, I think. But these cultural gaps can also be handled very, very in a positive way. And I see organizations doing it fantastically by having more interactions. And the most important thing is how are you making some of the expats coming into your GCC, sitting here, and on making some of the leaders going to parent company, and then the exchange of talent between the two really helps to reduce that cultural gap and understanding between the two.
Absolutely. Recently, I was part of a session with the senior leadership team that sits out of Germany. Right.
Yeah.
My role was to essentially educate them about ways of working in India, because they were having trouble dealing with the India-based team. So really, some of the things that we discussed in that conversation came as an eye-opener for them. How India is huge, right? When you think about the population, and India 1, India 2, and India 3, and it's India 1 prime. So that's the diversity that we have, and how do you connect with different types of India? They have a center in a tier 3 town, and they have a center in tier 1, and they can't seem to understand why are these so different, right? So I think there's a lot of education that needs to happen in the parent organization as well. And I really love the idea of cross-pollination. Some folks from here who take on leadership roles there. And it has happened in most organizations like Accenture. I think many global leaders are actually out of India. The chief strategy officer is based in Bangalore and is an Indian. So I think that's a very important component. So the next open question I have for all of you is, in the AI era, digital era, where work can literally be done efficiently from anywhere. Now we are seeing the mushrooming of GCCs in Eastern Europe and other places as well. India, a lot of leaders are saying, is not cost effective anymore. Cost arbitrage is not the thing anymore. It's access to talent and higher order work, right? Now we've become the more mature GCC, and other countries are coming up. So in that context, what should Indian GCCs do to keep the value momentum going?
I can just take that in two ways. We're working through a concept called stagility, stability plus agility as we're building. And I think to your point, Rajiv, the maturity of GCCs in India or the India ecosystem is a huge advantage for us. So and as you rightly said, the demographic dividend is again a huge advantage or differentiator for us, even compared to the Europe world or other parts of the world. We have the differentiator of having very mature tier 1, tier 2 cities, evolving young talent in the tier 3 cities, which gives us a different story. So to keep us evolving or keep us value differentiator, one, making the right choices of what we believe India can put on the table continuously and differentiatedly. No taking away that India is going to be that leader in the AI space as well. And so other technologies, I'm sure we're all reading enough on that. So I think what will stay as a differentiator is leveraging our talent, which has technology advantage, leveraging our demographic width that we have, and make sure we are making our choices of saying what makes most sense from India, from a geopolitical and a geographic standpoint, and the value we bring in. It's always a great use of leveraging other parts of the world for different strengths they bring, but both the technology dividend that we bring and the pool of talent that we have continues to bring in the value story that we can from an innovation standpoint. And those we should make our choices very clearly of saying these three things we can bring in and then partner globally. I think also the ability to globally partner is a huge strength that India brings in. It's taken that experience over decades. So that's where the India story should be very strong in.
Awesome. I love that. So questions are popping up on the Q&A box here. So I want to be able to do enough justice to the questions here. And if you have more questions, audience, please leave it on the Q&A box. So there are three questions here. So again, I'm going to read it out. Please pick it up if you think you've got a good answer for it. Effectiveness of young leaders in managing their workforce and team members. How do you handle that? Right. While we talk about multi-gen, how do you empower young leaders? Because attrition and other things is a function of how well they are equipped to do the job, right? Anything that you've seen work really well in your context?
I think they're a great pool because, to Manisha's point, they are able to associate with the younger team much faster from a manager standpoint. The strengths that they bring is their ability to associate with what's changing is very, very strong.
Right.
Their ability to understand the personalization concept when it comes to recognition, a fluid feedback, and that storytelling is very, very strong. That's what they bring as strength as young managers. What needs is the strengthening of their connection to again the larger vision and ability to cascade that communication, which is more complex in terms of vision, organization challenges, and so on. That's an area that they need to obviously weave in, and it's the role of the leadership and the organization to prepare them. However, I think the great strengths they bring in as young managers to be able to connect to the teams,
Right.
understand the moving workforce, and an agile environment.
Awesome, I love that. So the next question I see in the Q&A box is very topical. There's a lot of geopolitical tension going on with tariffs and wars and this and that. So how is that impacting the growth of GCCs in India? On the one hand, we see IT services companies sort of playing a wait and watch. They're very cautious about it. Is that helping GCCs grow? Right? There's an inherent equation between GCCs and IT services. And how do you look at this whole geopolitical landscape evolving and the impact on the Indian GCCs?
So I'll take that one, Rajiv. I
Yep.
think, let's say this is geopolitical issues are good, but in some way it is directly helping India to grow much faster because we are getting a lot of good opportunities compared to other countries where the GCs were developing very fast. I mean, I'm talking directly about China perspective, right? So there's a lot of good work which is coming to India now because they see a huge talent available in India, comparatively less complex in terms of the policies, geopolitical policies, and the reforms what we have, the policies what we have. So I think this is from an India standpoint of view. I think this is good in a way. And I see maybe next 5 years, we are already GCC leaders, I'd say, but almost 50% of the GCCs will be in India. I look at from that perspective.
Okay, awesome. And the other question is also interesting. What do parent organizations do to ensure consistency of culture among the GCCs? Even within India, there are tier 1 GCCs and tier 2. Do we see a lot of micro cultures building in the GCC units? And how do you address that? Is that a challenge? Is that something that we need to address? What do parent organizations need to do differently?
I mean, one of the things I can start on this when it comes to, I mean, culture is like an iceberg, right? And it is much more complex. When it comes to some broad statements, whether it is values or mission or sense of purpose, I think, Mantrika, you also talked about that in the beginning. I mean, that is the core. And I think what parent organizations are doing, that those are like the basic fundamentals, and that needs to be the same. So if it is the value of an organization, whichever country, whichever place, then it is like the fundamental. And then you localize it more from a perspective of how do you live that value. That might be a bit different in the local context, but then the values or the purpose or the basic fundamentals remain the same. And I think it's more about messaging as well and sharing success stories, because it is not only top down messaging. So we do a lot of campaigns and things around it. When we recently changed the values, so as to say, of how are we living the values, and then those kind of podcasts or stories and things will be shared at a global level from different countries, which bring in that forum of a two-way conversation as well. So that is something which I could comment on this one.
Awesome. And there's one final question that I do have a question for you before we wrap up. So the question from Danish is, while India is high on skills, communication is still counted as a skill gap, right, at various levels within the organization. So how are you bridging that gap, especially for talent that's directly interfacing with global stakeholders? Is that a challenge that you see? What are you doing about it?
So communication, I partially agree on that, but I think the GCC success in India is because of just not the talent, but also the communication skills what India possesses compared to other countries in terms of the English as a communication language, right? Uh, yes, there is a need of improvement. There is a scope of improvement on this particular area as well. But if I really look at from an overall GCC perspective, we have good people who can articulate well, who can communicate well with the global, people, global industry, and hence we've been doing fantastically in terms of this industry. To bridge that gap, yes, of course, I'm sure colleagues will also be doing the same thing. We're working on different communication programs, and in fact, the cultural communication programs with different, how to deal with Southeast Asia, how to work with the German organization, and the kind of communication we need to do, what need to be taken care of, both from the English perspective and the culture perspective, what companies are working on. But I see that as a positive side of India in terms of the communication and not a major skill gap. That's my view.
Yeah, I
If you
was
could
just.
combination. Yeah.
No,
Sure,
go ahead.
I'll just take 30 seconds. I think communication is very critical from the context standpoint. So typically, a parent organization is dealing with at times different contexts based on their larger macro environment. So that cascade of that communication and with the context is where at times the gap between a parent org and a GCC can be, whether you see in the larger ecosystem or to the smaller functional teams and so on. So the cascade of context, both ways,
Yep.
I think is not only cultural context, the strategic context. Decisions at times are one of the biggest gaps when it comes to saying,
Right.
hey, what's the context behind a decision and that communication?
Right.
And that becomes even more complex as GCC scale in India and the parent org's size changes actually.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah, I see that
multiple
clearly.
mediums.
Right.
So multiple mediums, and that's to me is one of the biggest leadership asks and challenges of saying, how do I cascade my vision or evolving situation continuously? And today the shifting thing is my last campus hire also wants to know as much as my top line leadership. That is the
Right.
shift in the workforce today. That
Yeah.
it is no more of saying, somebody somewhere is deciding I'll just do.
Right.
That need of communication has to be strongly strengthened where the last employee wants the full context of where we are heading as an organization.
Awesome. Great. We're almost out of time. There is a last poll that I would like to run as well. Archita, if you can bring that up, please. So while that is going on, what is that one bold prediction you have for GCCs by, let's say, 2030? Quick round robin. What will we be doing in 2030 in our GCCs? What is your bold prediction? This is for the panelists while the rest of them are filling out their poll. Ruchi, do you want to get started? 2030, what are we looking at?
Because the GCC will evolve from being just the support organization to maybe the trendsetters, and we'll have more CEOs and more top management coming out of the India GCCs.
Awesome. Madhulika, very quickly, what's your perspective on this?
There'll be niche, there'll be value creators and experimenters, and they will be leading globally the entire thinking perspective.
Super. And Manish?
I think GCC in India will change the complete outlook towards what India can do in terms of economically and politically everywhere. And I see India becoming a big hub, a larger hub as compared to any other country today by 2030.
Awesome. Those are really positive sentiments. I hear leadership, I see growth, I see impact and global influence through all of this. So I think we are, looking at very positive outlook for GCCs going ahead. So at this point in time, I'd love to thank the panelists. I think all of us here, all the 45, 50 people that were joining us today, I think will agree with me when I say this has been super insightful, very engaging and very thoughtful as well. I think very structured conversation. I'm taking away a lot from this conversation. So thank you so much for spending your valuable time on this webinar. And for all the participants who tuned in, thank you so much for your attention. And I hope all of us have finished the poll. Archita, you can close that. Yeah, once again, thank you, Ruchi. Thank you, Madhulika and Manish. Thank you so much for all your insights. We'll stay in touch.
Thank you, Rajiv.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.